May is the president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies and joins us now. Mr. May, what do you think of this development? Could it derail the talks?
It shouldn't. I don't think it really will. I mean, what they're negotiating is the status of the territories, the status of Israel vis-a-vis the Palestinians, whether there's mutual recognition, whether there will be two states. There's a lot to negotiate, and this is exactly the kind of thing they have to negotiate. I think two things are going on here. One is that Netanyahu is saying to Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, we're giving you nothing in exchange for nothing. You have to be concessions on your part if you want concessions from us. Although there were concessions given by Netanyahu just to get the talks started on pressure from Secretary John Kerry. As you may know, 104 Palestinian prisoners, many of them with a lot of blood on their hands, terrorists, are being released over the next 9 months. And there's nothing in return except that Abbas comes and shows up at the negotiations. But he's saying, you want to negotiate, let's negotiate, but I'm not just going to give everything away to you unless you make concessions and as well. Those concessions include recognizing that Israel has a right to exist and that you are willing to live in peace with Israel next door if you have a state.
Based on what's happened in past talks, 3 years ago, how have the Palestinians viewed that issue of recognition?
Well, they're sort of going back and forth, but the bottom line is this. Hamas doesn't recognize the right of Israel to exist in any way and doesn't think there should be negotiations with the Israelis of any sort. The only reason Abbas can do this, despite the fact that Hamas is in Gaza, is because first, he doesn't control Gaza and he knows it, and second, he can say to those who are listening, look, I haven't given anything away. I'm getting hundreds of millions of dollars in aid. I'm getting cooperation from the Israelis and things I need, and they are giving up prisoners who will be heroes. What do you want? How can you get a better deal than this? No, you can't. But the problem is a big one because there you have a rise of what I call Islamic fundamentalism in various ways throughout a lot of the Middle East. You certainly see it in places like Iran. And if Abbas were to say, you know what, for future generations, we have to put this conflict behind us. We have to get used to the fact that there will be one Jewish state among the more than 20 Arab states and more than 50 Muslim states. He would be called a traitor by a lot of Palestinians and by a lot of Arabs and by a lot of Muslims around the world. That's part of what makes this so complex and why I'm not particularly optimistic about these negotiations.
Talks have been on and off so many times. Is there any optimism this time?
Yes, but not for me. I mean, there are those who think that John Kerry obviously believes that there may be a window of opportunity, that it's time, that the Israelis should want it, that the PU says that the Palestinians want it. I do not see the reason why it should succeed this time around. I do not see Mahmoud Abbas either willing or able to speak on behalf of the Palestinians and say, let's put this conflict behind us. Here's what I need, and I understand what you need. Let's at least compromise in these ways. I don't see it. And I would say also that Netanyahu is going to have a rough time. What you mentioned at the opening of the program, giving some aid to some of the people in the West Bank, which those in the West Bank, the Jewish people there would call Judea and Samaria, that has a lot of, that's probably important, shoring up domestic constituencies who also are very skeptical about these talks and what Netanyahu may want to give away. At the end of the day, if you were to have a settlement, there are, between the Israelis and the Palestinians, certain communities, those around Jerusalem that are very well established and really are suburbs of Jerusalem, would no doubt stay in Israeli hands. Others, where you have hilltops or where they're cut off and not contiguous with Israel, those absolutely could and would go back. But keep in mind, all the settlements in Gaza were given back, or not given back, were turned over to the Palestinians a few years ago. Israel didn't get peace, didn't get credit. Israel got loads and loads, thousands of rockets shot from the places it gave up. That makes a lot of Israelis very skeptical. On the other hand, sure, Israelis would like to get this behind them, and a two-state solution appeals to them. But I just don't see a whole lot of reason that it's going to be different this time from any time in the past.
Clifford May, president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, thank you very much.
My pleasure.